Welcome back to hour 2 of Handy at the Shandy. This is episode 9. With me is Adam the Fraud and also Boring Jack. I'm Table James Games. I'm going to be leading this second hour discussion because it is my turn. And that's what I was told today. Any episode that's divisible by 3, I will be in charge, whether you like it or not.
And by leading means you're going to pass it off to Jack.
Soon. Let me lead first, Adam.
Okay,
Let me lead.
A good leader really lets others lead, if you think about it.
Exactly.
Right.
If you really think about it.
And good followers don't cut them off.
And that's true. Well, but you can. It's all right. That's what a podcast is about. We're going to be talking about some listener feedback. And then I left a ticket in a machine in Atlantic City. If I'm allowed to talk about that, it was an awful, but also interesting experience. Adam needs to feel better about not hitting platinum. And as we promised in the first hour, Jack is going to rant about those slot vultures. So now, as a leader, I am going to pass it on because only one person on this call has access to where you can send us listener feedback, which is
I gave you guys the password.
Yeah, I don't have it.
I don't have it.
The password is... Remember?
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, exactly.
Easy to remember. I'll bleep that out.
Easy to remember. I'm just going to make Jack read it anyway because it's a couple of paragraphs and I don't want to do that. So Jack, what was this listener feedback that we got?
Yeah, so we got an email from Eamon, and he says that every year his gambling group heads to Vegas for March Madness. And this one year, a few of them made their way to the Dorsey cocktail bar in the Venetian, which he notes is sadly now closed. Mm-hmm. And after a few drinks, they started playing one of their bar top video poker machines that were there while they were watching the evening basketball games. And he said, needless to say, the machines kept spitting out drink tickets. With only 2 of us playing, we were getting more tickets than we could drink, which that was always one of my favorite parts of, the Chandelier bar was trying to accumulate more tickets than I could drink. But not a lot of ticketed drink systems left in Vegas. But he goes on to say he asked for a Whistle Pig Old Fashioned, and the bartender made it, shockingly, because he was asking mostly sarcastically. And eventually another bartender took over and said that the first bartender shouldn't have been doing that, but agreed to keep the Whistle Pig Old Fashions coming anyways. So I thought this was a fun email from Eamon because it kind of goes along with a lot of the things we all like about Vegas, right? Which is getting the staff on your side to get the good stuff.
Mm-hmm. Eamon in that experience kind of speaks to something that happens actually quite frequently where you'll go up, ask what someone will comp, and one bartender will have kind of just a different menu in their mind or a different threshold sometimes. Like that's certainly happened at Crystal Bar at Resorts World to me a couple times. And that experience like sprinkles throughout Las Vegas. So like take whatever comp drink they're going to give you. But if you want something else, you can always try another bartender and just see what they have to say. Because that does happen probably more frequently than many people realize.
I love these little moments when we're on Vegas trips where you're like, ooh, I got a deal. Like that was, oh man, I went up to that bar. I didn't even put any money in and they comped my drink. So I love hearing things like this of, I wasn't expecting it, but I got it. Because it's way too easy for us to always gripe about the $20 Baileys, frozen Baileys, right? So we do have to also lift up when we're saying like, yeah, this is something cool I got.
And I actually played at the bar that's now in the space where Dorsey used to be at the Venetian. It's now called Juliet, and it's kind of a similar craft cocktail vibe to it. And they did still have machines when I first played there maybe a year and a half ago. And the machine still spit out tickets, and they were printed Juliet cocktail room, valid for blah, blah, blah. And I was trading those tickets in for menu cocktail drinks. And I was like, this place is great. And then the bartender was like, actually, we're not supposed to do that. These tickets are only supposed to be for like a mixed drink or some, more basic fare, not like their actual menu cocktails. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe this isn't for me. But to their credit, they still honored them for like the rest of the time I was there. And I got to drink something out of like a big Viking horn. Like it's a cool bar with some kind of like something was on. They had like one with like burnt rosemary over the top of it. Like it was a bar that did really cool stuff. And they do have machines that spit out tickets at least circa 18 months ago. So
now, do you think the bartenders get together and maybe they are allowed to do it, but they're like, hey, What if we tell them we're not supposed to be able to do this, but we're going to do it for you, make you feel special, you tip more?
I would be all in favor of that until I started noticing happening everywhere. But I would love to be conned into thinking I'm getting a better deal than I am. That's like the human experience.
Yeah. It's like the placebo effect, right? It's like, I don't care if this pill works really or not, as long as I feel better.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good job of Eamon too, of just like asking, right? Even if you're playfully be like, I bet you won't comp me this. Right? Like just put the ball in their court, like say no. But
Yeah.
like he asked and he got, and that's awesome.
I don't think I've ever played video poker at Venetian, and I haven't done a lot of gaming at Venetian at all, which is where I'll be staying for 3 nights come for F1. So I'm sure I'll be playing a lot more in there.
Yep. If we don't just drag you over to the Palazzo side.
Yeah, I'm just going to go to the Palazzo. Yeah. That's where I'd rather play anyway, I think.
Next up on the listener feedback, we got another email. This one is from Troller Boy. Adam, do you know who Troller Boy is?
I don't think so. I mean,
should
that should
listen
be
to-
one of my names.
There's some Vegas podcasts you really should listen to, is all I'm saying here. But he wrote in asking about craps callouts and had some good examples. He says, I wonder if you guys have ever taken note of the chatter from the dealers. Is this industry chatter?
Technically, maybe.
So he says, I wonder if you guys have ever taken note of the chatter from the dealers and stick people at the craps table based on the occurrences of the dice. I've started to make a mental note of some of them. He says he recognizes some of them might be on the verge of being off color, and given that we are a family-friendly podcast, that we're
He didn't listen to episode or part A.
Hour 1.
So he says everyone knows the standard ones like boxcars or yo. He says he recently heard someone call a hard 4 the ballerina, and it took him a bit to deduce that it had to do with a 2-2. And then and then there's other ones, racier ones. A hard 10, the lady's favorite. He says that one took him less time to figure out. A 6 that came the easy way as a 2-4 was called the lumber number.
Oh,
which that's got some good rhyming to it. I like that one. He says some of his favorites, though, have to do with when both dice or one die goes off the table, like too tall to call and too high to qualify. Another one that made him laugh was the dice were passed from one end of the table to an attractive woman at the other end. And the stick said, and now we have a totally new direction, which also generated a knowing wink. And he suspects of the three of us Table James games will get the joke there. He says, love the podcast. Keep up the great content, TB.
I like it. Yeah. I'm a soft 3, I think is what I would go with.
My favorite thing to do at the craps table is root for things like a hard 12 or a hard 2, and then getting get the stick and everyone to kind of laugh about that. And people who don't really know what's going on at the craps table, like, oh yeah, that's what I need to be rooting for, and they really don't know what's going. I think that's always a fun thing to do at the craps table.
People do very often throw their money to the stickman and ask for a hard 2 or a hard 12.
That is true.
One of the ones I really like, similar to the lumber number, one of the ones that I like that just sounds good, but it happens really rarely, is they say no roll in the bowl. If one of the dice actually ends up in the boat that, holds the dice that aren't in play.
Yeah.
No roll in the bowl is good. I just like in general that a 4 is called Little Joe. It's one of those things that you look up what's the origin of it, and it's 8 different competing etymologies of why that might be that. But all the little things, Joe, very easy to rhyme with. So you're we want Little Joe from Kokomo, or I didn't make that up, but stuff like that I think is fun.
Do you think there's craps dealers who say that they're the one that's their saying, right? And they try to take ownership of it?
If there are, they probably work at Caesar's Palace because they've been in the industry for a while.
That's right. And I'm sure there's some where it's it's like Mean Girls, right? Where they're trying to make fetch a thing. I'm sure there's one that
he just keeps
tries to
saying
say
it.
and that people are that's not going to work. That's not catching on.
Yeah, one that I like, I don't know why. I think it's just because it's one of the local craps crews. They when it's a 2-2, they'll make it like a train noise, like 2-2, and then other people, other dealers at blackjack or other craps, will then echo it back to them, and I don't know why. I think it's just how they're passing the time. But that's always been a fun one for me.
Wow. Okay, I kind of like that.
One other thing that I recall from, and I remember this because I wrote up a trip report on one of the Vegas message boards. This was when I was playing at Wynn, and the Wynn tables are right there on kind of the main drag that everyone walking between Wynn and Encore, in addition to people just walking around the casino in general, everyone has to walk by these craps tables. And one of the base dealers who's facing the aisle called out to like the Stick and Large and said, "Oh, we got a craps game here tonight," or something like that, something innocuous. But what he meant is, and I figured this out pretty quickly because I'm very smart and onto these sorts of things, is what he meant was that there are some scantily clad women walking by. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Because as soon as he said, "Oh, we got a craps game tonight," the Stickman just like immediately and like conspicuously whipped his head around to like see what was being talked about and was like, "Oh, yep." And there's like, I don't know, the subtlety was a lost art at the Win that night. But I have seen dealers call it that same sort of thing.
Yeah.
They haven't said that when we walked up to the table. So, bummer.
No. Well, there were some great emails. We also got a Twitter comment. I posted that I would be recording with, my two good friends, and at
They couldn't
Balmer,
make it today, but
they couldn't make it, but at least I got Adam and Jack on. From at Balmer Than You Are, a little out of left field, but if you had to bet your entire bankroll on one non-gaming trend that'll define Vegas in the next 5 years, what is it and why? And I just brought this to Jack and Adam today, so I don't think you've had, and by today I mean an hour ago. So we probably haven't had a lot of time to think about it. So I'll go first. What I think will define, and defining Vegas, I mean, that's saying a pretty big thing. So this is a little bit out of left field as well.
And you have to bet your whole bankroll.
I have to bet my whole bankroll,
which is a
both
bummer.
dollars.
Both dollars. I think we're going to see a trend of nostalgia, and we're seeing that a little bit already with the Friends exhibit, and a lot of the music that's coming either to Sphere or to some of the big day-long festivals is that like nostalgia trying to grab that millennial bankroll to get to Vegas. So from non-gaming, I think we're going to see more of those experiences that kind of bring you back to the 90s, early 2000s. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, I certainly don't disagree. The thing I came up with was I think we're going to see more like kiosk based stuff just in general, like more kiosk. We've already seen it for hotel check-in. I think we're going to see it for more other interactions you would have, whether it's getting drinks or even just like getting on the wait list at a restaurant. Just, I think a lot of places they're going to be trying to cut labor costs because that's what corporations love most. So I think we're going to see, especially with the way that people are going to be like itching to use AI to do these sorts of tasks, we're just going to see a lot more computerization of various like service interactions.
And that tracks because in part one, we heard about Jack's fascination with the advancement of technology in commonplaces. So,
that was technology that we could have had the whole time, but somehow didn't. This is technology that we are about to get in the future and probably shouldn't. So,
right. This is more like a Ray Bradbury book as compared to, I got it. I think you could say that not gambling is going to define Vegas the next 5 years by the way things are going. But I would say probably more live music. I think we've seen it with a lot of the country bars that have opened up. A lot of them have live music. And by that, I mean like smaller venues with live music. Like I think the Sphere opening up certainly helps that. It's kind of driving that kind of that wanting for that kind of atmosphere. So I mentioned, I think on a previous episode that I hope we get back to that a little bit, like small venue live music, I think is kind of starting to come back. There's an appetite for it. It certainly works well in Nashville, not to keep bringing up country music, but I think people are kind of clamoring for it, but also don't want to spend the big money to like go to a major concert, which can be quite cost prohibitive to a lot of people. So having access to that, not just in like lounges, but like I said, in these kind of dedicated live music bars. So that's one that I'm hoping for as well.
Yeah, I guess that happened. This is not a Nashville podcast, but the few times that Kim and I have gone to Nashville and just decided to grab lunch and just walk to like 5 or 6 different bars, listen to some live music, I might need to go there soon.
Yeah, and every bar has live music there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's awesome.
And so if Vegas ever figures out that people that don't listen to country music do listen to other types of music, then they'll start looking at that market as well. If they get wind of it.
I also, like, right before we started recording, a really good friend of mine and probably a friend of the pod, I don't know.
Shout
Mike,
out, friend of the pod.
Shout out, friend of the pod, Mike. He sent me a video via text, but it was a reel from Facebook. So I don't know why he didn't just share it with me via Facebook Messenger. But anyway, he sent me a video that is like a walkthrough of Imperial Palace, but there's a lot of shit everywhere. Let's just say, like, the room has like an O'Shea's thing, and all the wallpaper's ripped off, and it's kind of like, oh, look at this. It's like going back in time. And the reason why he sent it to me is because, like, I don't know, 5 out of the first 7 times I went to Vegas, it was with Mike for a business conference. I think I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this on like episode 1 when we were like getting into like what made us go to Vegas. And we would always stay at the Imperial Palace because that is where the conference was. And it just brought back that like, I remember that carpet. I remember how awful that was. But it was a really cool video. And so we'll make sure that Jack puts that in the show notes as well.
Well, the good news is it's still there, clearly. So if
Right,
if
yeah.
you want to bad enough, you can probably stay there.
We could find it. We could find it out of the link. We could find the lost floors. And I'm gonna save a story for in the future because I really liked one of the segments we did a few episodes back, which was like, what is like a really fun memory of Vegas you had? I have a really fun memory of my buddy Ryan getting lost in the Imperial Palace, and I'll bring that up in a future episode.
It was confusing because they had floors with like limited access. Like you could go up to like a particular floor, but you couldn't
you're
explore the entire floor. It was
yeah,
weird.
you are foreshadowing that story, baby.
Okay, yeah. They didn't do a good job of like keeping people out
No,
of. Anyways,
I
well,
did not.
yeah.
It was good, but that was listener feedback and emails, and we love hearing from everybody. It's super fun to get these. So you can always reach out by emailing handy@theshandy@gmail.com, or just find us on the socials. You can find us. I know at least Adam and I are on Twitter every now and then. Jack, on the other hand, I've been getting text messages from people being like, hey, someone sent Jack a message on Twitter. Can you ping him for me? What I did want to talk about real quickly is I need to admit something. When I was in Atlantic City last weekend, or a week and a half ago, I'm not going to talk much about it because I know it's very, we're not
you're on
allowed to do
thin
that
ice
here.
after that 4 and 10 comment about MGM Springfield. Like, you
That
better
is true. I was there with my buddy Steve, listener, fan of the pod, friend of the pod, Steve, and we had been drinking like all day. And it wasn't that I was extremely drunk or anything, but like I was having a really good time, and it had been a good trip up to that point. I was up probably over $1,500, close to $2,000 by this point, and that was 2 days into a trip, which is amazing for me. As we know, we lose most of the time. And we were playing some video poker, and then we decided we were going to go play some slots, and I had about $450 or so left on my video poker slip. We go to the slot, and we're playing a slot, and we see that the bar, there's 2 seats open for video poker. So we say, let's go. I went and I took my player's card out, and I was about to hit collect. And Steve was like, he had like $1.25 or something on his ticket left. So he puts it into my machine to say like, oh, we'll just combine our 2 things. And I was like, oh, good thought. And then we just started talking, and I just got up and walked away.
Oof.
So I leave it, and I know it's around $450. We get to the bar, which is right next to it. I sit down and I go, wait a minute, I don't have that ticket. And I was like, oh crap, I left it in. I go back to the machine. Someone's playing the exact machine. There's only like $18 in it. And I was like, hey, was there any money in this machine when you got here? And he didn't make eye contact with me. And he's like, nope, I put $20 in here. That's it. And I was like, okay, because I like 3 minutes ago left money in this machine. And he was like, nope, sorry, this is mine. So then I had a decision to make. Like, I know the process. I've listened to enough podcasts to like know that this stuff happens and what you do. So I went to security, and I was like, hey, like, this is what happened. And then I went and talked with like the main security, and they're like, hey, you've got 2 options, basically. We can take care of this ourselves, where we'll try and figure out the person, or we can get you in touch with gaming control, and they will look at the stuff, and they'll put the stuff up, and they'll put the pictures up and everything. At this point, I was like, well, it's not, if it was like $20, I probably wouldn't even send anything, right? Like 400 is like a good amount of money. Like I was not happy. I was not happy with myself. And then I thought, for the pod, I should go through the process. And so
which process?
I went through the process of filing an official complaint of a stolen amount of money. It took a very long time, but finally a nice gentleman came and talked to me. He was from New Jersey Board of Gaming or whatever, like the control board. And he had the exact amount in there. So because they told me that they had checked the tapes and they saw where it went. So they know that someone came and took it. They couldn't tell me any more than that, whatever I get, whatever investigation, but they had the exact amount. It was like $462.50 or something.
I bet it was
Uh,
that German motherfucker.
It was probably
Yeah.
the German motherfucker from hour one. But like I made a written report and he said, look, we can't guarantee anything. He said, but we actually do a lot better job of getting people's money back than people think we would. I was like, okay, like you're not going to give me like odds or anything, but that's fine.
Can I take the under?
He said what they do is if they recognize the person as someone who like kind of takes advantage of these situations, which there are definitely people who are just waiting for excited drunk people to walk away and boom, take their money. It's like if it's someone like that they kind of know who it is, it's probably long gone by then and that person's going to lay low for a while. He's like, but if it was just some random person who's like, oh man, I found some money, and they can locate it and they can contact him, it usually is a pretty like, they'll just say like, hey, you did this. And they're like, oh yeah, sorry. And then they'll be like, hey, Table James Games, do you want your money back? And also, do you want to press charges? And at that point, I'll be like, just give me my money back. I'm not going to press any charges. So we'll see. He said that the only way I'll hear from them if they find the money. So I did put it in my spreadsheet of that's a loss. It's called a stupid tax. Anytime I do something stupid that costs me money.
I wonder if the IRS sees it as a gambling loss, but
I don't know. That's a good question.
I don't think it's a good question. I think they don't, but
the worst part of it was it just ruined the vibe. Cause like we were, Kim and I, Steve and Stacy, like we were all kind of at the very least kind of breaking even, but I was winning and we were about to go to the video poker bar, play more video poker. And then I basically had to be like, hold on a second, I'm going to go take care of this thing. So it kind of sucked, but I a little bit, it was a little embarrassing too. Like, do I want to talk about this or do I want to mention it? Because like, I know there are going to be people who are like, what a fucking idiot. But like, that's true. Like I was an idiot. So make sure and I know what it is you have like the habit, right? My habit is collect, take the ticket, take my card. But that habit kind of was out of whack when Steve so I'm blaming Steve actually. It's Steve's fault, right?
Sure.
Well, I saw this coming from a mile away as soon as he got brought into the mix. But
exactly. So this is a reminder to people who are out there, like, pay attention to don't be an idiot like me, like get your money.
Well, I was thinking about the same sort of thing, not with leaving money in the machine, because when we shared our embarrassing casino moments, I already explained the situation where I left like $1,000 in the machine. But I had a thing happen to me on a trip in early August where this is the one where I was telling you how I like ran it up really high at Bar Luca, kind of just like a quick 1 hour session there. But during that session, something happened where there was like this big, I told you I was on the corner where a lot of people would come up and order their drinks because there was no one sitting there. And there was like this big group of people like hanging out near that corner as they were getting rounds. And there was like 5 of them and they were all having like a good time. And at one point they were like, hey, can you take a picture for us? And I was like, oh, absolutely. And I realized only after the fact that like, I just abandoned like $2,500 in this machine for like the 30 seconds I was taking this picture. And like, if they had been nefarious, they could have easily taken the money. Or if just someone else nefarious happened to see me do that, they could have easily taken the money. And that's one of those things where it's like, man, next time I get distracted like that, I need to like say, of course I'll take your picture, and then like cash out. And like, am I going to have the presence of mind to do that? Like almost certainly not. But it is something to think about because people do try this shit where they distract you on one side and take the ticket on the other side. It's not like I've said before, it's not like a weird urban legend. People actually, this is a scam that does get run. And as James found, there are people looking for this stuff because no one just happens across $450 and takes it and runs away unless they do that for a living.
Yeah. So it's, I'll keep people updated if I hear anything. I am placing a 10% chance on getting any sort of response back, but
are you willing to sell it? Are you willing to sell all the money you get back for $45 or something like that? I mean, I'm not buying, but I'm actually kind of curious
I might
if you want to
be.
sell off your debt kind of thing.
That would be interesting. I'd have to sign a contract though, because what if I just said, yeah, screw you, I'm taking both of them.
So I'd contact the gaming board.
You
There.
get it. You got to contact them.
Mhm.
But I'll keep people updated. Yeah, it was annoying. I mean, I still ended up, even with that, and the rest of the evening gambling didn't go the greatest. And also Kim did not win a single dime the entire weekend. We still left with more money than we went with. And that included any tips, any kind of spending when you actually like throw cash for whatever. And we had like $180 charged to the room total for for 2.5 days. So yep, that was me feeling like shit. And the next topic is about making Adam feel better
Me depressed.
about not hitting platinum.
Let's first ask, how far out of it are you? Because you're staying at MGM Properties for the entire duration of this upcoming Formula One trip. What kind of deficit are we talking about? Where's Adam and where's platinum?
I think I'll be at, by the time we get there, I think I'll be at about 160,000 tier credits. I'll be 40K away, which is quite a lot.
Yeah,
I appreciate your optimism.
They
when
have
you
a 20.
asked.
They have a 2 times multiplier if you get 20. If you get 20 in a day, you get an extra 20,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
like
that's
that?
true. Yeah, I think
That's
I
but
think
that's
they do
also
have that.
basically impossible. Like I lose infinite money, and I only ever do like 5,000 in a day.
That's
Yeah.
the thing. But I mean, the nice thing about those accelerators for MGM, which is different than Caesars, for instance, is that the accelerators, like food and beverage, counts, and so does like hotel spend, like general.
Yeah,
hotel
but they
spend.
really
But
knock down how much the hotel spend is worth. So even though it does get
That's true.
accelerated, it's not worth nearly as much as it used to be.
But if I spend $20,000 in a day at Vidara in their cafe,
It's a 4x. You would need to spend $5,000.
okay,
in a day.
that's like 9 sandwiches. That's doable.
That's doable.
No, but we're
Yes.
supposed to be making you feel better about the fact that it's slightly out of reach.
Yeah, I
think the
put that
thing
in
I would say
sarcastically.
is that 160,000 is a lot of tier credits, and you should be very proud of yourself.
Mm.
And that
Thank you.
also, even after this last trip, which I hadn't planned on taking, I'm still only at 70 for the year out of the 75 I need to get gold.
Oh, I didn't know that.
But don't you have the higher tier MGM credit card?
You're talking to me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's the reason that I'll be at
Right.
160K.
I was hoping. But like,
Mhm.
doesn't that get you 6x on MGM property spend? So now we're cutting it down even more.
But also that's just a lot. I mean, because if we think of what's the jump from gold to platinum, what am I really getting? Right, $600 in the airfare, which they just
that's
make
like
resort
every
credits.
time you go, right?
No,
I
you
think
have
it's just once.
Is it just once a year? You get
Yeah.
one $600 airfare credit?
Yeah.
Oh.
And then like a little bit better of a credit for like the Royal Caribbean cruise and stuff. It's like, what am I even going for? How much
A
am I
lot
gonna
more
spend to get?
lines have been, I've noticed that at MGM Properties, a lot of lines that used to be gold and platinum line are now just platinum line.
But they've also replaced some of them with, if you have the credit card too.
Mhm.
So it's like
So you're already
platinum
in.
and
Yeah.
credit. So I'm already there. I'm in that club. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I was like, oh, I'll get platinum. It'll be good. But thinking about it, like just the stretch, but also the opportunity cost of like using the credit card. I mean, it was just like a fun experiment for the year of like, can I use the credit card in combination with the gambling to hit platinum when I normally probably wouldn't even get gold if I wasn't using the credit card? Right, because Jack, you've gambled far more than I have this year at MGM Properties,
And I'm just barely going to be gold after this F1 trip. Yep.
Right. So it's like, okay, what does this look like if you really concentrate on it? I do think that the credit card can be worthwhile for people like Jack. If I was in your position, like I didn't have another trip planned, like spend 5K on the credit card, get gold, and then you've got your resort fees and all that kind of stuff taken care of for the next year.
Right.
And I had messages literally like second week in December where people were like, I'm so close to platinum. What can I do? I don't have a Vegas trip. I'm like, it's too late because you can't get the credit card now because the statement is not going to be for another 30 days. Right. So I actually have my statement closing, I think on the 21st or whatever. So like we'll be in Vegas at F1 and I'll know for sure how much I have to go.
Yeah.
But it's been a whirlwind of a time of be like, I think I can do platinum while I was trying to do all these other stuff, like spending wise with credit, like really kind of disperse where I was spending. Like I need my United card and all that stuff. But I think if I only spent all of our money on the MGM card, like sure, I probably could have got platinum, but just wasn't Not worth it. So I'm going to be a lowly gold member, I think, for the foreseeable future.
It just wasn't in the cards.
And that's episode 9.
No. My favorite segment, which is me ranting, is coming up.
All right, Jack. So you want to rant a little more about slot vultures. I could feel you in hour 1 wanting to go deeper in.
Yeah, you're seething.
First of all, what is a slot vulture?
Right. I was going to start with that. So,
and what are your main gripes?
I think there's, to some extent, one broad way to describe advantage play slots. Most of the time when we talk about AP slots or advantage play slots, we're talking about people that are playing machine games, but they're playing them when they have a positive expected value. So there's a number of ways that you can be a favorite at a slot machine. I think the easiest example is like a progressive being really big. Like if you were at a game that had a progressive royal flush for a video poker game and it should be $1,000 and it's up to like 6,000 or 7,000, that's going to make up for any of the badness of the pay table. Actually, if people liked my little rules about video poker in the past, every extra 4,000 credits a royal's worth. So every extra royal you're getting paid for on the royal is worth about 1%. And then conversely, that means if you never hit a royal, the game is about 1% worse than it would be if you knew it was possible. Like if you sat down at the machine and you were like, this is a 97% game. I said, you think that, but technically you can never hit the royal. Then it would be like a 96% game or something like that. But anyways, the easiest way to have an advantage at like a slot machine is just like if one of the pays is way higher than it should be. I think the next easiest to understand is like what's called a must hit by jackpot or a must hit by progressive, where it's like, okay, you need to collect on Buffalo Link. You need to see on your screen 1,800 of these buffalo heads fly by. But by the time the 1,800th one has flown by, you will have been awarded a bonus at some point on that interval. And so if it's at like 1,750, you know that you're a favorite to play at this machine because you are guaranteed to hit a bonus at some point soon.
Or there's an actual progressive jackpot amount, and it has to, that it keeps climbing as more money goes in.
And that can also be a must hit by. Right. Yeah. So then there's a combination of the two things I just said, which is progressive that only goes up to a certain point and then it must be awarded, which is kind of a low fat deal. Yeah, that's a good point.
And I think the ones that I was talking about are like one of the few instances where you can actually calculate how much money you're going to have to spend at worst in order to hit that particular jackpot, right? Because based on what I'm putting in, how much it's climbing.
Right. Only in that case where you know how much it moves and how far it goes. Yeah. Then you can know exactly what the worst case scenario is.
And the reason I bring it up is because other than that, it's a bit of an inexact science where you're kind of guessing, an educated guess on whether or not you are the favorite. And if you are, how much of an advantage you have. Because I'm assuming you're going to talk about other machines that are in kind of a progressive or a particular state that don't change.
Right. And so everything that I'm griping about is not these things we just talked about. What I'm griping about is actually the really short-term advantage plays that are available. And that's why we call them like vultures, is they're coming by and just picking at things that are small and available briefly and just taking what they can get from it and then getting away. And those are situations where the machine might be advantageous for only a few spins. And so a good example is like the Golden Egypt one, where if you collect 2 coins on any given column, that whole column becomes wild for a few spins. And so obviously to get to those 2 coins, you have to at some point have collected 1 coin. And it turns out that if you've already collected 1 coin in one of those early columns that are likely to make more pays, like the second or third column, then you should just sit down and play this Golden Egypt game. And don't at me if you know better than what I'm talking about. This is just a vague understanding of what this game is. But Ultimate X, my favorite video poker game, is actually a lot like that, because we always talk about how you're awarded a bonus on the following spin if you hit a certain hand. But if you earn that bonus and then either run out of money or get distracted or leave or what have you and just leave it there, whoever plays next can use those multipliers. And what's more, they don't have to play the full 10 credit Ultimate X bonus and pay double on every line in order to play those multipliers. They can generally, at most machines, just do what you should have done when you left, which is just lower the bet down to 5, play off the multipliers, and then stand up and get out.
Mhm.
And they make a career out of that. They show up at a machine, find any multipliers they can, play the minimum to earn them. And so instead of paying double to win half, they're paying the regular amount and then getting these multipliers on the hands where they're active and then moving on to the next machine. And so that's kind of my explanation about what these slot vultures are looking for on these bar tops. They're either looking at one of these two, something Scarab, Golden Egypt. They're looking at a couple slots. Then they're cycling through the most popular Ultimate X games to see if anyone left any multipliers behind. And they're doing that as fast as they can. And then they're moving on.
Right. And those are the bar top machines, because there are many slots on the floor that have some sort of consistent state that they can easily kind of see and potentially pick off.
And even Saturday morning, when I was in the sadness corner at that machine that was too loud and too fast, it did have a placard on it that said, this machine has a persistent bonus feature. Be aware of anyone trying to get you to leave the machine for any reason. So they know that these people are out there.
Oh, yeah.
The question is, how much can they do about it? But now we're going to get into my gripes about this, because in general, I have like a positive view, I'd say, of advantage players. Like you listen to like Richard Munchkin talk about his whole carding team in Poland or something like that. And I generally feel very positively about their exploits. And so the question is like, why am I mad at this Asian lady that was next to me, or this ratty dude with the backpack, or whoever it is, right? And I've got like 5 things on the list, and the first 3 are not like real gripes. They're just things that make me displeased, but they're not like my argument for why these are bad people. So I'm going to go through those first, and then we'll get into the meat of it. My main gripes, first one, just the aesthetic gripe about them being little rats. Like it is just an unpleasant thing to be next to. It's like,
it does make it not fun.
It's like being on a phone call at a payphone. I'm sure you guys are old, right? You would always do this.
Yes.
And someone's just coming by pressing the coin return on every single one, just trying to make sure that they can't get like a dime out of it. And you're just like, is this really where I'm at in life? Is that like I'm hanging out with the coin return guy? And
so I mean, I played a slot at Bellagio called Power Push, which is one of those where it has those features. And like, I just like the game. I think it's fun. But I know there on either side of me, or on both sides of me, there were people waiting to play the game. And I basically had to tell them, like, listen, I'm playing this through until the bonus hits. So
I'm not going to be one of those idiots that leaves it in a state for you to slurp it up. Yeah.
You can sit here all you want, but it was just kind of taking the fun out of it, because I was having fun with my brother and my buddy. And I'm like, you guys just hanging around, like just like lagging on, like waiting, hoping that I leave. Like, you're kind of just draining the energy from this area right now, like with your little fanny packs, and just wait, like just beat it.
I've said that the things that I like about casinos is that like everyone there is on vacation. They're all there for the reasons you are, to have a good time. And here's someone that's there for like a reason that's completely antithetical to that. They're doing like a job, and not only that, but it's like a really shitty job, and they're not having fun.
And like if I'm sitting next to somebody at a slot machine, like, yeah, I want them to win. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, I want to lift them up, help them up, but they're hoping I burn through my bankroll and I leave before I can hit the bonus on this machine. And like I said, I had to tell them, like, I'm playing this through. I've got the bankroll, so just fucking scram.
Yeah, they are anti other gamblers, and that's what I don't like. I want the community to be pro other gamblers.
Right. Yeah. Some people, Bill Krakenberger calls them sour rooters. Right. Which, and I think, and that didn't even make my list, because I don't really play those, types of slots where you might sit and wait for a longer play to develop. So that was one. This next one is again, absolutely not a real gripe, but I want to put it out there. Just in general, if someone is good at gaming a system, that makes it worse for people who are not gaming the system. And this comes up a lot in Miles and Points, like sign-up bonuses get worse, or award redemptions or award charts get worse. The more people get into how to manufacture spend or redeem credit card points by transferring them and stuff like that, the more people get good at that, the more just a random guy like me who wants to just redeem some points for a Delta flight to Vegas or something, the more I'm getting less value, because these companies have to devalue their stuff in order to make up for the fact that some people are really good at it. And I want to point out that this is not my gripe about these advantage players, right? Like, I see people like Tim Lawson, who plays a lot of AP slots, getting like all these great comps and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, I'm like a little jealous of it, but that's not the reason that I'm mad about AP slots players. It does just kind of factor into it a little. Kind of in the same way when you hear about people talk about asking the pit for their table games rating, right?
Mhm.
Like everyone says, like, you're always going to get underrated on your table games action. And so if you have a long enough session, you should ask the pit boss when you stand up, like, hey, what did you have me rated at? And then maybe no matter what they say, you ask for something a little higher than that just to try to do it better. But you can imagine an extreme scenario in which everyone but you does this. Everyone in the world knows to ask the table games pit boss for a better rating when they get up, but you don't know it. Now, all of a sudden, just like you get bad comps and everyone else gets good ones, right? And so that's kind of the thing that, like, I wanted to bring that up because it's not the point I'm making, but it does kind of apply here.
It
right?
seems like you're making that point, though.
But at no point when I see this fucking rat next to me just shuffling through all the games, and I'm like, oh, and I bet they get good comps too. Like, that doesn't factor into the decision in the slightest. I'm just saying that in general, it is easier to be mad at people who are good at something. And I want to point out that this is not just a mad because bad sort of scenario.
Mhm.
But I also think when you're talking about slot vultures, they're probably not the ones that are getting the better comps, because
Right.
they're just picking the little, like,
They're just
going
playing
through,
once.
They're going through
They're
fucking
probably
5
not
cent.
playing rated.
They're going through 5 cent deuces wild, so that way they can win 82 cents and then get the hell up. And I'm with you.
Yeah, they're like the true APs are like you brought up Tim. There's other people we know in the community who are doing it, who are using it like to get good ratings. Some are doing it as like just a pure AP play, but there are some who are like, I'm just earning tier credits from it. I know this game's in a better state than it normally would be,
Mhm.
so I'm just going to use it to accrue those. And like I said before, like it's such an inexact science at times, but people can do it and be really successful at it as well.
All right, the last one that isn't a real argument is that it's not fun or interesting, right? Like, I find learning how to play Ultimate X video poker better to be like kind of an interesting endeavor, because I think it's hard. I think you have to come up with like a lot of heuristics. You have to remember certain patterns. There's all sorts of stuff. These types of things, it's just like, is there a coin in column 1 or column 2? Or is there a multiplier on the screen? Or even in some of the AP slot stuff, it's just like, is the major above this, the minor above that, or some like combo thereof, right? Some linear combination of like 2 variables or stuff like that. Like, these decisions don't get that complex. And then to make good on the decision, you just hit the button. Like, you don't do anything else, right? Like, so it's not even something where it's like, if you can't beat them, join them, because I don't want to do this. Like, this just seems miserable. And so that's like another thing where it's like, this isn't my main argument, but on the other hand, it's like, trust me, I do not want to be them. And that makes me despise them even more.
Now,
Well,
if these aren't the main arguments, I can't wait to hear the main
God
arguments.
save
The main
AP
ones I think are
players.
actually a lot more basic than that. They're a lot more fundamental issues.
Okay.
Here. Number 1, they are against the player. Unlike advantage players like card counters or hole carders or people, that are shuffle tracking, just any of the number of things you can do to beat the house out of the money, they're not beating the house out of any money. They're beating you and I. They're beating our listeners. They're beating our friends, our fellow gamblers. They're just taking money from us.
Yeah.
Like, when I go to sit down to play Ultimate X at a bar, there's going to be fewer multipliers sitting there waiting for me that someone left accidentally because some other little rat came and took them.
So you want it.
Well, I walked past a machine at Caesar's Palace, a 5-play machine that had like a 2x and a 3x for next hand just sitting on it. And I was like, I'm not even going to play that. Like, I don't want to be that guy. So no, I'm not saying I want them. I'm just saying one of the perks of playing these sort of progressive games is sometimes you get it in the good state and sometimes you get it in the bad state. And if you're the type of person that plays it regardless, that's just kind of a fun part of the game.
So
But
why
the
didn't you
vultures
play it
make
to take it away from the vulture? Right?
But then I'm no better than them.
Okay. No.
There's another reason I'll get to at the end of this if we have time as to why I didn't play it, and it's just kind of. But that's my point: is they're against the player. Like, in some sense, it's these rats and the house versus you. Whereas most AP stories you hear about, it's like, oh, it's me and this advantage player versus the house. And obviously, I'm not really versus the house. I'm technically giving the house my money, whereas they're winning the house's money. But we feel like we're on the same team because we both want to win the money from the house.
Right.
Whereas the advantage players are just trying to take your money. Like, you, the listener, they want your money. And that just, I think that sucks. I think that's not cool.
Yeah.
And then the second one is that they don't do anything for their strategy. Like, they don't originate the numbers. Like, let's say Harley Davidson, I know that you have to see 86 on the mega in order to play it for the mega. or something like that. 86 free games for the mega feature. And then I play Harley Davidson. Well, where did I get that 86 number from? The answer is you just heard it from like someone else who told it to you in confidence. And so like, not only is there like this secret cadre of people that has these numbers that are just facts, like it's a fact of the game, what numbers you would want to play it at, much in the same way it's a fact of video poker that like 9-5 is this much worse than 9-6, etc. Like it's just math. But the problem is it's not shared anywhere because there's not enough to go around. They're all competing with each other over these little morsels. And so as a result, they can't publicly advance the state of the art by sharing numbers. And so like, unlike someone publishing a video poker strategy or John Mahaffey telling you here's where to find the good blackjack games, no one does any of that. It's just a non-community community for the most part. Like it's mostly people hoarding information to themselves and not disseminating it because it would hurt their bottom line. And as a result, it's just like people trying to like get a hint or pay for. Maybe you have to paywall to get these numbers that someone else came up with or stuff like that. Like it just strikes me as like a very non-academic and non-scientific for something that ultimately is just academics and science. Like you get these numbers by either running simulations or doing research or that kind of stuff, but then no one shares it. And if they do share it, you have to pay for it.
Well, I'm going to be honest. I think you're giving them too much credit because it's not exact and it's not scientific. Because I've
for the
been
people
a part
that do some of it more seriously, it is. For the people vulturing Ultimate X, the rule is just
Ultimate
is
X,
there
sure.
a multiplier on the screen, right? Like
sure,
that's
but
not
I'm talking about like,
one.
and I don't think that's maybe it is. I don't want to speak too broadly, but like I don't think that's as popular in terms of like community as like the slots on the floor.
Well, right, because the upside is so much smaller.
Right. And
Yeah.
I've been in those communities, these paid communities. I've been in multiple ones. And there will be a lot of sharing back and forth of like, is this a good play? And the reason those questions are brought up so much is because no one actually knows. Right.
And it is some casino dependent, like where they have the machine set according to the manufacturer's settings. Like there are a lot of variables that could make this a fun endeavor, but to me, it's not fun. And the fact that it's not shared publicly is not cool. And the fact that they're after my money and your money and not the casino's money, it just makes it all unconscionable to me. It's just like, why would you do this?
I think all those points are valid.
And that they look like rats.
Yeah.
They're ratty. Are you saying that about our friend Tim?
Yeah.
I think
he's kind of like an overgrown, like more like mutant rat, if you really think about it.
I'd say there are several people who do it and do it well, and are some that are making a living off of it. I think, unfortunately, there are people who join these communities, and as you said, and I can attest, a lot of them are paid communities that cost quite a bit each month. I think the ones I were in were like $30 a month because I was just interested in learning about it, right? It's something related to gambling. I want to know more about it. But as I said, there's so few exacts in terms of what to do. They'll be like, oh, it had this many blue piggies and this many yellow piggies. Is this in a good state? And there's debate about back and forth about whether or not a particular machine is in a quote unquote playable state. But then also, you find something that's in a playable state, there's a lot of people who go into it and don't actually have the bankroll to sustain the variance that comes with. Because as we all know, we've all won in the casino, surprisingly enough. We were not supposed to mathematically, theoretically speaking. Right. So even if there are these slots or these things that are in a good state, I'm not talking about the Ultimate X where it's a one spin, whatever. They're the people who don't have the bankroll. They're under bankrolled to ride out the downturns despite a particular machine being in a quote unquote good state. So it is a fascinating thing, I think, for people to look into and learn about. I know Jack may have some strong feelings about it.
I do think it's interesting. I think the fact that by what you're doing is just like ultimately just hurting other patrons, either indirectly or directly, is just like makes it an uninteresting pursuit.
Yeah, I'm a bit ambivalent to it because I think part of it is they do want to take from the casino, right? And so like if you see, like if I come up on a machine that's clearly, from what I know, in a better state than it normally would be, I'm more likely to play that. I haven't seen the person who has played it before. I can't feel bad for a nameless person who just left.
To be clear, I agree with you. That is the point of these machines. Like, why do casinos even have machines in their house that cause this animosity and this sort of like competition for it in certain states and that kind of stuff? Because people like to see the number go up. People like must hit buys. People like this kind of stuff, right? And so, like, I guess I did kind of a bad job in trying to separate the like few spin vultures that just spin a couple times and move on versus the long play like APs that are actually looking after like longer progressives and must hit buys and that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Because I really did blend the two when I was saying some of the things I don't like about them. But
Well, you hate both of them, so
I do think I kind of do. Yeah.
Well, there is some blending of them too. Like as I was saying, because as Krakenberger talks about, like on both sides, right? Both types of APs make it not as enjoyable for other players when it's obvious, right? As I said, I've seen people play machines that are clearly in a good state from what I know, from my limited knowledge of it. But I'm not going to stand there and wait for them to get done. Like, just enjoy your machine. I hope you play through it, and I hope you get the bonus and whatever. Now, if I come back 40 minutes later, you're not on that machine anymore, but it's still in a good state, yeah, I'm probably going to play it. But like, that's not how, I'm not saying I'm better than everybody, but that's not how a lot of these people are. As I said, I've been surrounded by people, and it's a fucking bummer. And then I have to sit there and play because, one, it's just me being stubborn at a certain point. Be like, I don't want you clowns to then take advantage of this machine that, one, I put all this money into, but two, like as you said, at that moment, I feel like you are rooting against me and you're taking my money at this stage. So it's this thing that kind of, I go back and forth on it, like how I feel in a particular moment. I think, like a lot of things, it's like, how do you interact with the other patrons and, go throughout your business? And there's certainly people that do it in a way that's particularly unsavory. No one that we know, none of our friends.
Oh no, all of our friends that do AP slots, we love them.
Unconditionally.
All right, we're coming up to the end of hour 2 after that 75-minute rant from Jack on slot vultures. We said we're going to talk a little bit about F1, which is the next time the three of us will be in Vegas together, which with a bunch of people from Twitter, from Vegas Twitter that I've seen are going to be there, which is going to be pretty awesome. We're going to save most of this talk for the next episode, which will drop just a few days before we head out to Vegas. But I did want to give an update on something that I talked about on a previous episode where I was only able to get 2 nights comped. So I was only going to be staying at Venetian for the Friday and Saturday. I got a response back from the host desk. They were able to not only get me the Thursday night, so now I have Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night, so 3 nights comped at Venetian.
Nice.
But my newer offer came in with an extra $100 on free play, so it went from $25 to $125. And I said, "Can I get that too?" And they said yes. They're like, "Oh yeah, sure. That'll be. We'll change the offer code in it." So I will get in. Well, Kim and I will get in on that Thursday night, later in the evening, around 9-ish p.m. I also know that good friend of the pod, Josh Duffy, Vegas Duffy, is getting in that night too. And even though he said he's like, I'm not gonna game that first night, but I did convince him to at least grab one cocktail at the High Limit Lounge at the Palazzo that first night. So you know what that means. He's definitely going to play.
It's over for him.
Yeah, he's playing.
He's definitely playing. So it'll be fun. I'm super excited next week where we can spend the majority of probably both hours, if not the entirety of 1 hour, talking about our plans for F1. So gosh, like I said earlier, I'm just so excited. I can't wait to get out there. I guess it'll be good to see the two of you in person too.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into more of that. I know a couple of us do have some tickets for F1, so we'll get to see the race. We'll talk about that. Maybe we'll know more of where we're actually going to be sitting at that point. And then some of us won't be going, which would include my wife Kim, who's just gonna go to sleep, I think she said, and then meet us for some after parties. So it'll be real fun to talk about that next trip. And then one last thing before we get out of here, I will be representing Handy at the Shandy for Zorkfest. I will be on the Podcasters After Dark panel there the weekend of December 5th and 6th. I got a decent flight out there, and Duffy texted me and said, "You should come." I talked to Kim, even though I'll be there 2 weeks before, I'm going to go out again. So we'll have a lot of content for the rest of the year. We'll see how
Traeger's desperate for people.
If he's asking us, he's super desperate.
I really wish I could swing it. I absolutely can't that weekend. So it's great that you'll be out there, and they don't have to listen to me rant about whatever's on my mind after 3 cognacs. So it'll be a big improvement.
I'm super pumped because really Zorkfest last year is the reason why this podcast exists. So it's super cool that I'm going to be able to go back there and chat with
Don't, because Traeger's going to take that to heart and think that he
Uh.
created this. And so, no, just
We're going to cut
it's
that.
where we met as
Yeah.
as a trio. Now he's going to try and okay.
Yeah. So coming up, the next few episodes are going to be pretty great. Planning for F1, recapping Zorkfest. It's going to be a great rest of 2025. But that's it for tonight. So for Adam the Fraud, Boring Jack, and Table James Games, we're out of here for episode 9 Handy at the Shandy. Take care, y'all.
See ya.
Later.
Why am I the person who people think is the creepy guy?